So Simon,
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
How you doing?
All right. You?
Good.
Yeah.
Happy to have you here.
Okay.
It's been a while. We've been talking about this for a long time.
I know. What's it been? Has it been months? I don't even know.
Months. Yeah, I think like since last year we've been talking. Ever since I took all those I was like starting to buy the equipment.
Right.
And then I was like,
after a while, it's just
missing
like,
stuff.
you know what? I don't even remember anymore.
yeah. But now we're here.
Finally.
So
All
What's
right.
up?
What are we going to talk about?
so tell us about you though.
About me.
Yeah. Who are you?
I'm Simon Donnie. Let's see. Who am I?
I know you're good at with stocks.
Okay.
What got you interested in stocks?
What got me interested? It was in high school, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was junior year. I was in accounting class.
Whoa.
And I remember my friends were talking about stocks.
Mm.
And it's weird. I went to a Catholic private school. So, it was none of my friends that I grew up in the neighborhood with. It was just like all, rich kids and such. Me, I got lucky. But somehow my mom sent me there.
Hey, take advantage, man.
I did. I mean, I hated it every day because I wasn't around my normal friends. But,
But you learned something, though.
Yeah. So I heard them talking about it, and I looked it up, and I was like, whoa. None of my regular friends are talking about this. All my friends were like at public school and stuff. Nobody was talking about investing or anything like that. And then like I bring it up, and they're just like, huh? But like kids at school, they were just like, yeah, my parents bought me this for my birthday. They bought me 20 shares of Apple. And I was like, what? And this was like 08, 09. And this was like around the crash. So things were super cheap back then,
Best time to buy.
Yeah. And then I was like, wow, how do I buy these? I wasn't even 18 yet, so like I didn't even know how to like go on a brokerage or anything and like buy that. I could have Googled it, but like.
So when was the first time you actually bought your first share?
I was in college. I think it was sophomore year.
So how long was the timeline
So it was
when you
like,
heard it?
It was like 3 years later.
So
I was looking it up.
you were researching, and
yeah,
that's cool.
I was looking into like their products. I was like, okay, how do they make money? Oh, and so like around that time, I bought an iPod, and I was just like, okay, I'm buying their product. I like it. I think more people are going to buy it. I see more people buying it, which means this company's going to do great, which means it's going to be more money coming.
I can see your pattern now.
Yes. Like it took a while, and it's like when you're a kid and you're trying to like understand all this, it's different compared to school. Because like in school, when you're learning things, you're just like, I don't want to learn this stuff. But like with that, I was like driven. I was just telling myself like, I got to do this so that way I don't have to worry about working later on. And like I could be rich like these kids were, Like me, when I went back home, it was like back to some little neighborhood where like all the kids would go around and play, and like half the kids were like on food stamps and whatnot.
So they didn't understand that there was a better way of life.
All they knew was like McDonald's on the weekends, those dollar meals, while these guys were out there getting like huge meals. The parents were buying them, random gourmet foods or whatnot. And like they would have like huge houses. Everybody else was just like renting apartments and such. It would be like 6 to 7 kids every house.
So what was your thought process when you were buying your first stock? And was it Apple, your first stock?
Yeah, it was, surprisingly. My first thought was like, wow, my mom works really hard to send me to this school. And her car was like the only one that was like the most beat up out of everybody's. So I was like, there's a huge difference here. Why am I going to work hard my entire life like this? When I can just do what they're doing, future-proof yourself, invest in yourself, try to make sure you find a way to make sure you're okay in the future, I guess,
For retirement or...
Yeah, I mean, retirement didn't go through my head at that age, but it was just more like, just have it so like you can keep getting money back. And then like I learned about like dividends and you know, the interest being paid for it, and then like splits and all that.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, I basically have to like keep putting money into this if I want to keep getting more money out of it later in life, you know.
So you were actually earning some money buying like
Buying
it was just appreciating.
at the time, I was just like watching it grow.
Mm.
And during that time, like when I first bought it, I was only able to like buy like 3. And this was like when it was like 600 something each. So it was like a huge like purchase for me at the time.
Right.
I was telling myself like maybe this is a wrong move, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm just gonna go in. And like when you first go in and buy, it's like think of yourself as like a parent. What would be like the best way to teach your kid something? You can give them the cash for this, or you can give them something and then like you can watch them mess it up. You know,
Right.
they know that they can use cash for anything that they want, but if they get something for free, it's not something that they pay for.
Right.
You know?
They don't want to appreciate it more
Yeah,
or at all.
and so like it's a valuable lesson
Right.
to the kid, like buying them a car compared to like, you know, giving them like a couple $1,000s.
Mm.
And then like you could tell them about the stock market and it'll be like, whoa, so I can make more money off of this, so I don't have to work or anything like that. Like crazy.
But it's so crazy that you actually went and used your own money when you can actually just go out and buy like an Xbox or a PlayStation or a new computer, and you actually took that money and actually invested on something like in the stock. Like you actually took that initiative to invest.
Well, it's funny. The year before I started looking into it, I bought an Xbox. So, I don't know.
So
It was one of those things where like I still wasn't looking into it yet. So I just wanted one because all my friends had one. You know? But I never heard like anybody else saying like, oh, they saved up for it or anything. They just got it for Christmas. So like if I wanted stuff, like I had to like actually go out and buy it myself. I had to like find a way like work like a mayor's program or something over the summer, save that up. And you remember those mayor's programs? Like they would have kids work over the summer, like anywhere from between the ages of 14 to 17.
yeah, I was
You know?
part of those programs.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Yeah.
Way back. And like I was using that money and like I always saved it or whatever. And then like same thing like when it came to like lunch money and such. I remember like mom would give like $20 a week and like lunch was like $4 a day at school. More than half the time. It's like maybe 60 to 70% of the time I'd save it. And I'd tell myself, okay, $80 a month. I'll save this. I can use this for something else. I don't need to eat the school lunch. I'm getting fat anyway. Because I remember like every freshman 15, you know, freshman is like you gain like 15 to 20 pounds. Same thing in college, you know.
Right.
And then like after that, that's when I started to learn it. And I was like, all right, I started saving. And then that's when like I started buying stuff. And then like I noticed these other guys were having everything that like I wanted, but I couldn't get. That's when I started like telling myself like, okay, I got to learn more about this. You know, it's like putting a kid into like a different environment with like a whole bunch of kids that are like above them in like a certain way that like could do things differently.
So they can see like a different perspective
Yeah.
of life.
Yeah. Like compared to like where they live, where they're learning, where they're working, you know, who do they grow up with?
Do you think that stocks should be taught in school?
I would think maybe later on down the line, maybe like around high school, just so like they understand it by college. And then, you know, if they're working like summer jobs during then, they can.
So what are the main keys you think that like a young investor should
understand value, understand what things can turn into later on. They got to understand like what's creative and what's like, what can this creativity lead to? Is it possible later on? How far down the line?
I think it also teaches patience.
Yeah.
Because you have to wait a long time for things to actually, it's like planting a seed, and you have to let it grow, and then once it becomes a full plant and it starts giving fruit, now you can pick it.
Nest egg. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's something that I believe that should be taught to to kids like in the beginning stages, not stocks talks like investment, but just the
Just tell them what's worth what later on.
right and
What
just
can this do
and
now?
have a patience to.
Yeah.
I think they try to teach that, the patience part, where with reading and writing, but I think that it's also valuable. It's better understood with something with stocks, I think.
They teach them too much saving, definitely.
Mm.
Saving's good, but I think like there's certain ways that you can save it, certain ways you can put it, certain ways that you can tell them how to. How do I say this? Instead of saving, put it into something that appreciates.
Right.
Right. Instead of buying so many shirts or shoes, definitely shoes. Who didn't buy so many shoes?
Right.
Um,
But it seems like kids nowadays, young adults, are not buying stocks, are not getting into the stock market. Do you know why? Do you have an opinion on that?
they're not taught about it. They're not, there's no one around them like in their age group or anything like that, or somebody that they look up to. That like, if it's somebody in around their age group, and they're always hanging around with them, they're just like, whoa, this guy's doing this. Wait, that's worth that much, and he's doing this.
Mm.
Or if it's like someone older than them, like maybe 10 to 20 years, and they see like, a role model, like they have all this. How did you do that? They're going to ask them things like this. And then they're going to tell them things like, oh, you work hard, you save it, you put it into this. You always heard an old man or someone say you save it, and you do this. But now it's better off telling them like, just know where to put your money,
Do you have like a mentor who has helped you, or you did it all yourself?
It'd be nice if I did, but no. Kind of wish I would have. There probably would have been like much more less mistakes.
Mm. What kind of mistakes you made early on?
Just knowing like buying too early or like buying when it's too high. So like for example, when I first bought those 3 stocks, it was like around 6. But luckily, like later on, it turned into a stock split. So it was like a 7 for 1. So I was like, oh, this is great. So it wasn't too bad. But like if it was a different situation, like it was too high and then like all of a sudden it just dropped, then I would have been traumatized. Like, oh, I'll never forget this. I still didn't forget it because it was so expensive. And like I watched it like every day in class, in between classes. I was just like looking at it, reading news about it. That's another thing you have to do, is like always be updated, like with who they're working with, the components that they need from different companies, that type of stuff. Like I remember looking at like Corning way back. It's like the glass part for the iPhone, and like it's like, yeah, they call them Gorilla Glass. So you need that for the iPhone. I was like, okay, so these guys aren't going anywhere because iPhone needs them.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
So you developed that on your own, or you were reading articles?
I was reading. I was doing a lot of reading. So like every class I was in, I remember like I was in one chem course. It was like a couple hundred students. It was like 200 something students, and like I was always in the back all the time, just like reading up on it or something. And then like same thing with like with organic chemistry. I was sitting there. I should have been paying attention to that.
Right.
Somehow I still passed, but still,
Mm.
it was just reading it every single like day. I would read a note, or like I would get like some notification on my phone that was about that company and like who they worked with, the chips that they got from who and where. I was like, oh, okay, so if you can't afford this stock, you can get a lot more for less of this different company. And this company would be okay because of this, because these guys need them. So that's another thing that should be taught, because people would just end up like buying like huge shares of like, think of what's a huge company nowadays that has so many subsidiaries?
Oof. There's a bunch of them now. Google.
Who do they own right now?
Microsoft.
Microsoft. What do they use right now? Like, where do they get their chips? Like, think of Micron, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apple uses Micron? No.
I don't think so. I have to double check on that.
It's nowadays.
But if kids, right, they want to learn on their own, what websites, what books, what apps do you recommend them to check out so they can start learning on their own? Do you recommend them doing a simulation first before going in and putting real money? What was your recommendation on
I'd
first
say
starting?
definitely first like read up on it a lot. You know, watch some videos. A lot of people do like tutorials on like what to look out for, understand like these certain things. Like when you click on stock, like when you Google it, it'll tell you all the information at the bottom. It'll tell you like the ranges from like within the year, 5 year, 10 year. It'll tell you like PE ratio, like price to earnings. What else are there? There are dividends. There's a whole bunch of info at the bottom of it. So like look into that stuff, what all that stuff means. Overall, I would say like if you're looking into a company and you really like it and you know it's gonna last forever, then all that stuff doesn't matter for like a long time. It might matter for now in terms of like just buying it when it's a really good price.
Mm-hmm.
That would be good.
Right.
But like later on the line, you don't really have to like worry about it unless like you're restructuring your portfolio for like the next couple of years or something like that. But I would say look into like Investopedia. You can Google like a whole bunch of like stock tutorials. There's certain books like the Intelligent Investor.
It's one of my favorite books right there.
Favorite books.
I have like 3 books, 3 copies. I have 2 soft covers and 1 hard, and I don't touch the hard. Like I just keep it like a trophy. Like, I love that book. And I think if we really want to learn, what I do with the Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Grant is I read it about 3 times a year. Like I just keep, and then the first time that I bought it, I think I read it 10 times. It was just like if you're really interested in stocks, and then you pick up that book, it's gonna blow your mind. You're not gonna get enough of it.
Yeah, it's anything that you're interested in. Like if they taught finances in school, that would probably be like the number 1 class all guys would go to. Pretty sure not many girls would go in there, but like it's definitely like one that everybody would want to go into. They'd probably like skip all their other classes just because like when you're young, all you want is money because your parents aren't buying you that much of anything. You know? So you're just like, I want to be able to buy this for myself. I don't care what it is. You just want the cash for it. Right. You don't really even care about the money when you're younger. You're more in tune with like objects. You just know you need the money for that. So you're not really taught what the value of those things are. That's when, I think I said that earlier. Like you don't know what these things are. You're just getting the cash for it. And you don't know what you're supposed to be using this cash for instead.
So what's the best time you think that you know when to buy on a company?
When to buy into a company, I'd say.
What are your guidelines or your thresholds that
a great time to buy? I would say think of like when their peak is like, say a stock's at like $100 on average, and then all of a sudden they drop to like $30 to $40. I'd say that's a great time to buy. 40 to 60%, that's an excellent time to buy, especially if you know they're a great company. They're just somehow like going through a whole bunch of things. That's definitely like an excellent buy. You just don't even think, just buy it. Well, think, but it's just like that's the one I've been waiting for. It's a definite.
What about for selling? When do you think is the best time for selling?
When you feel like you see something else that's going to grow much faster. Or if you think your company's just not going to, grow as fast as you need it to grow. Like, you always want aggressive growth when you're younger. Because later on in life, you don't want to, like, risk anything. You can risk it all when you're young. Not in everything, but, like, just enough just to tell yourself, like, okay, I can risk this much, and I know I'll be fine. Like, 80% of it or something like that.
That makes sense. When do you think is the right time for a young adult to start investing for retirement, or should they go and take full advantage on their 401ks and RIAs.
I'd say as soon as you find a job that offers that, take full advantage of that. It's when it comes to investing, they say what? I think 18 is when you're supposed to,
Right.
when they allow you to actually invest.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to like 401k and such, as soon as you see a job that says, "Oh, we'll match your, your investments," take full advantage of that. They say like if they say 5% of your total salary, then match that plus a little more, just to make sure you're getting at least double what you're close to double of what you're investing in yourself. So, say if you make 5%, you make $1,000. Say you deposit $50 a week. Your employer will deposit $50 also, 5%, right? Or you can deposit 100. They're still going to deposit that 5%, which is 50. So, either way, just make sure you at least try to match that, and you'll get like max out returns on like little effort.
What's your the three companies that you recommend or do you have bought in the last 6 months?
In the last 6 months, haven't bought anything within the past. I'd say within the past like 8 to 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
I got some Under Armour. I thought they were pretty cheap. I bought some AMD.
I missed on that.
What else did I buy? I bought Snap also because they were cheap at that time.
But
So 2 out of 3 right now have close to doubled.
Yeah, Snapchat.
But Snap is the only thing that's like.
I feel bad for Snapchat losing all those subscribers.
Yeah, they made earnings so far.
Right.
They made the revenue, but like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna do great later on. Right now, I'd say like I'd still keep buying, but I'm not too worried about them. I'm pretty sure they're gonna do great.
I saw those stocks, those companies you're planning on holding for long term or?
Those, yeah, definitely. AMD, just because of the contracts that they made with like a couple companies. That's another thing to look into. Like, what makes this company? How are they going to bring in revenue? How do they make this money? That's something you always want to look into. You want to see, what do they make? Who do they sell it to? Who is it a long-term thing? Are people going to keep buying this thing? Is it like an every year thing? Is it like is it things that they sell like every couple of years? The more that they sell, the faster. Think of like how iPhones are sold. They sell them like every year, So people keep buying them, even though they know they don't need to. They like a new iPhone. So like the way these AMD chips work, they're the graphics part of the Mac and the iMac and the MacBook Pro and such. So you know that they're going to keep making computers every year. So that's how you know that this place is going to keep making revenue.
So you have to develop like a logic.
Yeah.
On these companies of their potential and their growth, and it's like almost like art.
Right.
You can see the numbers, but they still need to make a judgment on their.
You have to see who they're competing with too. Like with NVIDIA, they're super. Compared to them, they were like 20 times their price when I first looked at it. I was like, whoa. You know what? I think let me go with this one. Let me try this one.
What do you recommend a young investor or to start with a short-term mentality or always do a long-term investment?
Short term is like almost impossible if you're just by yourself. You're not doing anything. If you don't have like those things that huge investment companies have, like when they use their Bloomberg terminals or when they have like their own algorithms and such. It's definitely like you can always bet your dollar on it that you'll lose like 90% of the time.
Right.
Unless you have like more than a huge group of people working with you, there's a slight chance that you guys will pull through or at least make a couple right decisions.
I think those guys have like super fast computers.
Yeah, definitely that.
algorithms to
Yeah.
choose those.
And then they got other people that they're working with, like, hey, we have to buy this. We'll dump at this. And those teams actually do make it. Yeah.
Give us 3 tips for a young investor right now that they can apply and be in the road to success.
Let's say first, 3 tips that I would give to a new investor. I'd say first save. Maybe like anywhere from like a couple grand to like $5,000 or something like that. And then after that, while saving, look into the companies that you really want. Just like really focus on the information about them, who their competition is, what do they make, who works with them, who's like their CEO, who runs their company, how much does it cost, who's their customers. And then the third tip, I would say use the simulation while you're doing that. The simulation definitely like before you actually put your money, or you can put your money in at the same time, but just make sure that you're using a simulation before you actually invest. That way, like, you can know if, you can play around with like your emotion or something during simulations. You can say, I think this one's going to do great. Let me put a couple thousand on this one, a couple thousand on this one. Because the simulations that you play like up to like a couple 100,000 or something like that, just to see like how good you are.
Right.
And pretty much, yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you, Simon.
No problem.
Thank you for showing up,
Of course.
giving young investors some tips.
Anytime.
And hopefully take advantage, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Good to have you.